about to leave, already packing. Come with me, I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be, life with no distractions. We'll get away, this is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out. Die with my own doubts. Be free with me. Let's be free with Not looking back, eyes on the freeway, Bonnie and Clyde, a classic cliche. We're on the run, this is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out. Die with my own doubts.
Good evening and welcome to the first Sociology, what we're calling it, Revision Blast, AQA level Sociology Revision Blast of 2023, and it's very nice to join you this evening. And joining me, we have got Katie in the middle there, who's moving a camera in the wrong direction. There's Katie, and
Sorry, I'm a bit too excited. That's what it is.
absolutely, and Craig over there on the right. Hi, Craig.
Hi, Duncan. Hi, Katie.
Hello. And we've got quite a few activities to get through today. The topic is structure and action, structural theories and action theories. Craig, do you want to maybe just tell us a little bit about what we're covering? Because obviously it sounds a little bit on the abstract side. What are we looking at?
Yeah, what we're looking at sort of is the kind of key structural theories across education, crime, and kind of the theory and methods unit. So your functionalism, Marxism, and feminism. And then we're going to throw in a little bit of social action theory and a bit of structuration as well across some of those key areas, across the kind of core topics.
Mm-hmm. Great stuff. Okay, shall we get stuck straight into it?
Why not? Why? I'm looking at the chat and I'm seeing some familiar names, which is great. Yes. So that's quite cool, isn't it, for us?
It is. It's nice to see people we know. Absolutely. Let's go. I think we're going straight over to you, Katie, aren't we, for Categorize? Do you want to tell us a little about it?
Yeah, so for the people that are new, obviously some of the familiar names on there might know, but just for those, we've got 60 seconds to sort the keywords and the theories into the two sections, which are structure and action. So when you think of those words, what do you normally think of? Have we got some music today?
I hope so. I really
I
hope
hope.
so.
And obviously, you don't need to write a word out. Obviously, it's just writing the number when you're categorising. So you might put S for structure, A for action, and put the numbers next to that. You can write it in the chat. That you should be able to do that automatically, and we can see those as well. Are we ready? Are we steady? Are we good, Duncan?
Yep, let's go for it.
Let's go for it.
Nice dramatic music to put you under a bit of pressure.
What words for numbers that we theories? Would you look for action? Maybe theories might also.
Time's up.
Okay, so let's look at some of the answers. Have we got any answers on there? I think people have been stalling a little bit potentially.
Yeah, should we give people a second or two just in case there's a bit of a
Appreciate
delay?
something you may have looked at, but you might not have looked at those terms. You might have looked at maybe top-down, bottom-up theories. You might have looked at the words macro or micro. You would definitely have looked at some of these ideas, but maybe not use the word structure actually yet. It might be something you'll come into in the next couple of weeks or so, leading up to the exams, something your teachers might recap on. This one's tripping me up. That's okay, and this is the purpose of today. It is a little bit of revision. So, should we look at the answers?
We can. I was just going to say, Craig gave us a little bit of a hint at the start because he talked about structural theories and then he listed some. And so, it might be that might help us a little bit. But shall we? Yeah, let's have a look at the...
Yeah, let's look at some. So if we get this, it might help us with the other activities. So you'll be like, hopefully there's a bit of a moment. I get this now. So your structural theories are your classical Marxists, your feminists, your functionists. So there's, yes, you're not sure what self-agency and dramaturgical are. So that's fine. I can explore all them in a minute with you. They're the theories that sort of see that there's systems and structures in place that really sort of dictate what happens and sort of looks at the fact that society has a bit more control. And obviously the feminists and the Marxists are a little bit more what we call conflict theories that see that structure is not the majority, whereas functionists obviously see that as a positive consensus theory. On the other side, the action theories, which you would have looked at interactionists already, another word for action is agency. So having sort of some autonomy over what you do. Self is your individual. You might have looked at some names, you might have looked at Mead. I know we're looking at some names later, so you'll maybe pick up on that. And the dramaturgical model is something that Goffman talks about. But again, you might have not come across that yet. So don't worry so much if you're sitting here and you're thinking, oh my goodness, there's lots of concepts on here that I haven't looked at before. Obviously, you would have maybe come across the theories, I'm sure, and patriarchy. Agency is just another word for sort of that autonomy that you may have as an individual. And again, it might be that your teachers are going to be talking about this in the next couple of weeks or so, just to consolidate that synopsicity across the sociology subject. Is there anything you guys want to add? Craig, is there anything you might want to add to that, or do you think you're sort of going to mop up some of these things in a minute with our next activity?
I think as we go through, we don't want to give too much away too early on, do we?
No.
We're going to look at some structural theories in a minute with education. So
yeah, and that might make a little bit more sense to you actually if you put to education already. So go for it.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually apply some of these structural theories to education. So we're going to do a bubble quiz, and we're going to ask you a question, and there is a number of correct answers to the question. That ranges between 0 and 4. So we could have 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4 correct answers. It's a little bit like a multiple choice question, only there's more than one possible answer. Okay, so which of these following sociologists are functionalists? Of course, functionalism is a structural theory, but which of those sociologists are functionists? A. Parsons, B. Durkheim, C. Davis and Moore, D. Chubb and Moe. Which of those are functionalists? you get some answers. So just type in the chat box on below the screen or to the right of the screen, which however you set up, which one of those are functionalists. So we've got L saying Parsons. Just type in the letters of those that you believe are functionalists. So St. Brad, AB, Naz, AB. Let's look at our response. It was A, B, and C. Parsons, Durkheim, and Davis and Moore. You would cover them sort of like when you're looking at education, and particularly functionalist views of education. If
Oh, I've lost
in
Craig for
there,
a second.
I'll try not to give that away. Am I still here?
Yeah, you're back.
Yeah.
Okay, great. If anybody knows which approach Chubb and Mo come from, please do write it in there as well. Let's look at question 2. Which of the following concepts do you associate with Marxist views of education? Another structural theory is Marxism, of course. It's a structural conflict theory. Let's look at these concepts. Which do we associate with Marxism? Is it A, correspondence principle, B, value consensus, C, marketization, D, ideological state apparatus?
We've got a couple of comments still coming in from the last question. Naz
Yeah,
was asking
Chubb
whether
and
Chubb
Mo were
and Mo
not
were
Marxist.
Marxist. No.
No.
And
A little bit of an evolution from functionalism, I'd say Chubb and Mo belong to. Davison, Moore, and Bowles and Gintis, it's strangely sort of they kind of contradict each other, really. Davison, Moore, and Bowles and Gintis, they say very similar things, but they say they happen for very different reasons, and we'll look at that in one of the further questions coming on. So St. Brad has also said A and D, correspondence principle, ideological state apparatus. L is saying D and C. Hugh is B. Beckett is saying A and D. Those who said A and D, you are correct. Yeah, it's correspondence principle and the ideological state apparatus. Of course, you can put down who you think said those as well. The value consensus obviously is very much a functionalist idea, and marketization linked into the new right.
talking of which, BHG has
Has
correctly
got
suggested
right.
that Chubb and Mo.
And so is Becca as well.
Oh, right.
I don't know if you're hearing this, but I'm kind of getting myself back in a loop here.
Yeah, occasionally it's doing a weird thing. I'm not quite sure why.
Althusser was the ISA. That's correct.
Well done, Al.
Question number 3. Which of the following sociological perspectives argued that education passes on norms and values? Now, this is a little bit of a tricky question, but let's think. Which of the following sociological perspectives argued that education passes on norms and values? A, Marxism, B, functionalism, C, feminism, or D, postmodernism? Which of those answers are correct? Lots of people going straight with B. Are there any others that suggest that education passes on norms and values? Different types of norms and values, even. BHD has gone for BA. Most other people have gone for B. Our answer is A, B, and C. Okay, so Marxism would suggest that sort of like education does pass on norms and values, particularly those of the upper classes, the kind of dominant ideology of society. Functionalism suggests it passes on the norms and values that build into the value consensus, and feminism will suggest that feminism will suggest that education passes on patriarchal norms and values. So well done, those of you who got A and B. C is a little bit of a tricky one there. Let's go to question 4. Which of the following reflect new right ideas about education? It's another one of the theories that you need to know in education. A, that competition improves standards. B, that disadvantaged pupils should be given additional assistance. C, education is meritocratic. And D, individuals should have choice. Now, this is more about applying your knowledge of the new right to education and thinking about some of the concepts that they may have discussed. So we've got L saying C and B. A St. Bread, A, C, and D. BHG, A and D. Which one of those do we think the new right reflects in education? Bit of a tough one, this one. Let's look at the answers. Quite a few people stop there. Competition improves standards. Yes, we know that this is part of their view of marketization. They also think that education is meritocratic and that individuals should have choice. And this is something that may come up if you get a theory type question on education. Let's look at part 5, question 5. Which of the following ideas have been examined by feminist sociologists? A, raised aspirations, B, teacher attention, C, cultural differences, and D, material deprivation. A little bit of application here because a lot of your feminism and sociology comes in the section on gender differences in educational achievement. So it's always useful to know what feminists have said about education as well as Marxism, functionalism, and the new right. So Hugh Him has gone for AB, L has gone for BC. St. Bread is going for BC.
Naz and Hannah have both gone for A and B.
A and B, yeah, AB. Okay, the answer is A and B. Raised aspirations and teacher attention, particularly focused on the gender differences in education. So the raised aspirations of girls, for example, Sue Sharp's study, and teacher attention, and so like how teacher attention can be placed on, for example, boys with Becky Francis's study. Let's move on to our next one. So we're going to look at, again, focusing on structural theories of education here. And we're going to put forward a possible question. We've seen this occur a couple of times on the exam papers so far, where they've suggested that education will do something. And each of the different theories has a different approach to the question that has been posed. For example, in 2017, it talked about education passing on norms and values. And of course, we've just seen from our question in this activity how we've seen from this question in question 3 in the last activity how education passes on norms and values, and both Marxists, functionalists, and feminists have all suggested this is the case. So we're going to look at this question that could possibly be asked, which is how does evaluate the view education prepares pupils for their future roles in society. Okay. So we looked at identify a few theoretical approaches that would suggest that education does prepare pupils for their future roles in society. So which sociological theories would suggest that? Sorry, I'm just catching up on some of the comments there. I think you've answered them already, though.
Yeah. So a couple of people are saying they agree, but that's
what we need to.
But I want to know is
who else would agree? Okay. So functionalist approaches, specifically who would suggest that education prepares people for their future roles in society? Marxists would suggest it. Again, let's think of somebody specific who would suggest that this is the case.
In what way does it do it? A couple of the arguments and stuff.
Maybe some little concepts. I mean, I think you alluded to one earlier about how they agree and disagree, didn't you, Craig? When you were talking about some names earlier.
We have got the idea that both functionalists and Marxists will suggest that education prepares people for their future roles in society. How might they do it, though? Let's look at a couple of ideas.
Do you want me to reveal?
Yeah, let's put them up and we'll show them. So Davis and Moore would suggest that this is the case, and they would say pupils are prepared for their future roles in society through role allocation, kind of passing on meritocratic ideas. Those with the highest performance will end up in higher status jobs. And Bowles and Gintis will say a very similar thing, but they will say it happens for a different reason. They will suggest that pupils are prepared for their future roles, but they're being prepared for the long shadow of work, to quote Bowles and Gintis. They're being prepared to take their position. They're being prepared to take an appropriate position in employment through the way in which school mirrors work through the hidden curriculum. So they're both saying a very similar thing. And this is why, if you were going to get this debate, you would put them both on the same side.
The big
Sorry, losing my
difference,
voice
of
a bit.
course, is on the issue of meritocracy, isn't it? And whether
Yes, and
whether
as to
that
whether or
allocation
not.
is fair or not. Yeah.
Whether it's a
Yeah,
myth or not.
yeah. So if you were to get this, what other views might disagree with this idea that education prepares people for their future roles? What other views might suggest? Okay, you're saying you right could prepare them as well. Yes, I would go with that. You could also even say feminists would sort of like agree with that idea that, you know, it passes on kind of patriarchal ideas and prepares people for gender appropriate roles in education. You could look at that one too. Who might disagree? Hugh Him has said feminism. I don't know if that's for the other one. Postmodernist views. Why would postmodernist views disagree that education prepares pupils? Remembering what postmodernists kind of think about large social institutions generally. Postmodernists is in there. Should we look at the responses?
I was just going to say also what postmodernists might think about social change and the way society has changed from perhaps when the education system was devised.
So I've put here, postmodernist views suggest that education does not reflect the nature of work in contemporary society. You can also see that postmodernism would suggest that sort of like education has become fragmented and individualized, and therefore it's difficult to prepare people for their future roles. And I've put kind of a bit of a factual bit of information here. There's a high level of NEETs. Now, NEETs are not in education, employment, or training following education. This is the number of people sort of who are supposed to be prepared for their future roles by the education system, but it fails to do so. Okay, we've got secondary socialization down there. I don't know if that's for the agree or the disagree part.
I suppose
Or
it
is
might
that
be
whether
there
that's
as an
an alternative
alternative.
function?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you could sort of like another way you could approach that type of debate is talk about an alternative function that the education system performs. So, for example, it promotes social solidarity instead of preparing people for their future roles.
Great
Okay,
stuff.
so we pass over to Katie.
Hi. So yeah, I think Elle just put down that it would be to agree. Actually, so just clarify that. So the connections again for those people that haven't seen this before, we've got a spinny wheel, and in the middle there is going to be a question. And what we're asking you to do is see where it connects. So we've got lots of different theories on the outside. So
I've just seen a typo and I'm really sorry. I should have spotted this.
Oh, that's my fault. Where have I
it's
put it? Oh, post.
posy modernist.
Posy. Posy. That's. I'm taking that. That's me. I don't know what I did there. So sorry. Although we might be changing it up a bit. So we're looking at explanations of crimes. We've obviously just looked at education, and what the point of this is if you haven't already looked at structure and action yet, or that you're just consolidating some of those things, that is something that you can use anything that you've used already. So you can use any of your education stuff, which you've just gone through with Craig, and any of your crime stuff within the theory / methods question on your paper. So just be aware of that. So yes, it obviously appears in the crime section and on the education section, but be mindful you can use knowledge across the board as well for that theory-based question. So what we'd like you to do is the wheel's going to spin. Where it lands, you're going to make a connection of what that theory says about explaining crime. Okay, so let's spin that wheel, Duncan. Are you ready? Your muscle's big enough to spin it. Are you spinning it?
It's spinning.
Where's it going? Functionalism. Okay, so what are the functionalist explanations for crime? Okay, what do they? Not what the function of crime is, but what are their explanations for crime? Off we go. Just put some key concepts down. What do you think? Any names potentially? So we've got there maybe a function of it, but what might be the explanations for why a crime happens potentially?
Yeah, so people are going with the functions of crime, which is good stuff.
Yeah.
But what sort of reasons do functionalists suggest for why people commit crimes? What causes crime?
Yeah. What's the cause?
So you might think of some different functionalists.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So we actually use the word the result of societal structure. Okay, so that's hence the reason why functionalism is a structural theory. What's going on? Why does crime happen? So potentially, inadequate socialisation into the value consensus of society. Yeah, brilliant there. Don't remember the function of this, but crime allows for social change. Okay, so again, maybe crime is explanation for why crime happens to allow for social change. So a little bit is good. Yeah. Anything else? Any sort of thinking of sort of like
trying
to think
Merton.
names.
We could think subcultures.
Yeah,
Merton,
I wasn't
think
gonna
Cohen.
go. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, response to strain. Yeah, retreatist. Obviously, talking about Bellion, and we're talking about cloud of holiness, strain theory. Yes, because and who are talking about those things? Who's talking? I think we just said who talks about strain. Thanks for that, Naz.
Oh,
not so much labelling. Yeah,
no, but L said status frustration, which is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that can link with Cohen. Yeah, not labelling. That would be on the action side of things, actually. Which is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, so save that for the actual one. And then, you've got the American Dream. We clarified that as well. So, let's see what we've got. We've got some great ideas there. And it's really just thinking, what the cause is, not the function. Sometimes the question might be worded slightly different. Obviously, some of you have put your subcultural functions in there. But we've got Merton, obviously, enemy. We may have looked at words, strain, American Dream. And obviously, you talked about sort of different elements of that. So that's fantastic. Brilliant. Well done. Okay, so we're now going to move on to another theory. Spin it again.
I really hope it's going to be posy modernist. Should we find out? Oh, Chloe Denolin. Well done.
As I said, subcultures. I think someone referenced that earlier somewhere on the chat as well.
We had Cohen earlier, I think. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Where is it going to spin to? Oh, it's slowing down. Posy modernist. It's another structural theory. So Marxism. So again, doing the same. What explanation? So we don't really want to go down the way of why there are differences in different types of crimes for working class people, middle class people, and whether they get arrested or not. What we're going to do is, so what explain and that a little bit more, El. Rebellion to the capitalist system, capitalism, What do they think about? Exploitation, yes, well done. Myra's talking criminogenic, that's really good. Crime is prevalent among the selective law. So maybe the selective law enforcement would be a sort of an explanation for why there might be class differences in criminality. The bourgeoisie create the conflict. Some really great ideas there. So fantastic. So let's see what we put on the connection. Well, again, obviously capitalism, which meant the economic structure, capitalist control. Well done, El. St. Brett's got some great ideas there. You've got this idea that the class system reinforces or it creates that exploitation, which is actually criminogenic in itself. So some really great ideas. So fantastic, well done. So relative declaration was more linked to sort of your new left realist.
Left realism,
Realism, So sort of save it for Lee and Young there. But excellent, some great ideas. Obviously, maybe it just was part of your vision. You want to sort of, a really great idea would be to sort your sort of key concepts under those theories so they're not drifting between each one. Okay, last one. We've sort of looked at this already, slightly through looking at education and crime already. Give me 3 ways in which the capitalist structure, which I know some of you have mentioned already, such as L, is reinforced according to Marxists. So how do the bourgeoisie reinforce this capitalist structure?
Let's get the music.
Go for it.
I hope Craig's remembered.
He's got that guitar. He's got the guitar out.
You got your bass, Katie? Craig's got his bongos.
I'm going to start singing in a minute. So
it's very good, isn't it?
Regulated, through the ideological state apparatus. Well done there, Lorca.
What other state apparatus did Althusser talk about? out of interest?
I was up for more of that. So we've got one. Is there any other ways in which like as Duncan said, is there any other apparatuses as such, or apparati? I don't know. Yeah, maybe through selective law enforcement might reinforce it. We've got the ISA, blocked opportunities. Any others you can think of?
Yeah, we've
Might
got
think about
others.
education. Oh gosh,
Loads coming through now. Mira
Yeah.
or Myra, paying low wages, ideology, repressive state apparatus through the institutions. Yeah, very
Oh, I
good.
can't see them, but they're amazing. I can think maybe I've got a little bit of a delay there. And
Camerogenic capitalism from L. And a few people mentioned Althus and the ISA, and selective law enforcement. Education, law, law, the family. Saint Bread, so structures reinforced through blaming the bottom class and how they supposedly create the situation that they are in themselves, which makes the working class commit crimes against other working class people. So I think that's part of the ideological function again there as well, isn't it? That, you know, yep. Some interesting ideas coming through there.
Or loads of things. I mean, obviously, depending on what option topics you had, you might have different other concepts you might have looked at if you looked at, say, media or so on. So there's so much there that reinforces capitalist structure. I've put them under very loose terms, which are ideological, political, and economic, and a lot of those go under those sort of headings and such as examples. So some great stuff there. And what I sort of want to sort of end on this point is, remember, sociology is synoptic. It's, there's stuff that you can borrow across from lots of other topics and units that you can use for the theory question. So don't get thrown and think, oh my goodness, this is a structure question or an action question when you get sort of revising this. Actually, you can use anything that you've looked at already. And it looks like you know loads already, so that's fantastic.
Okay. There was less excitement about the action side of this equation early on, I think, when we were doing the categorize and things. And so what a better way to think about action theories than through a fun game of word smash. But we can talk about the theories and the ideas that come up in this as well, just in case you haven't come across word smash before.
Where have you been? That's the question. If you haven't, where have you been?
Yeah. It's very like Answer Smash on Richard Osman's House of Games, but also it's completely different and the lawyers don't need to investigate it at all. So there's an example on the screen where there's a picture of an elephant and then there's a clue. What's the southernmost continent in the world, home to the South Pole? And the answer would be Elephantarctica, because you got the elephant and Antarctica. So what you'll be doing in these questions is you'll have a picture that has nothing to do with sociology, a clue or a question towards something to do with action theories, and you have to smash the two together. So obviously you need to know the answer to the sociology question in order to be able to smash it with the picture. And it's Hannah's favourite activity. That's very good to know. Mine too, Hannah. So we have a picture.
If only there's an exam just of these.
Yeah. So we have a picture, and then we have Cooley's idea that our sense of self is based on how we think others see us. So that's an interesting thing. We had, if you remember on the categorize thing earlier, we had self there, and the idea of, how we think about ourselves and how we construct our idea of ourselves. And there's a key theory that come from Cooley.
If you looked at cultural identity, maybe you might have come across that, if anyone's...
Oh, Myra's got it. Just trying to work out how to smash it. We've got the two bits. Now. Yeah, remember the picture comes first. Well, Hannah's so close. Yeah, you've basically got there. Ig-looking glass self. It's an igloo looking glass self. It's the ig-looking glass self. Okay, well done. Okay, so well done for spotting it. Very good. So you know more about your action theories than you were letting on. Okay, here we go. We've got a photograph of somebody, and we've got the sociologist most associated with labelling theory. Labelling theory came up earlier, and it's in its proper place here as an action theory. Developed really from that looking glass self idea. If you go beyond that to think, well, if we develop our sense of self from how other people see us, then part of that is the idea if people label us, then that obviously affects our sense of self. Elle has got the right person, but doesn't know who. Doesn't know who. Has answered the important bit. The sociologist doesn't know who the picture is, and that might help. Mira's one might help because yes, we do need the full name of the sociologist in order to be able to smash it with the comedian on the left-hand side. He does. I normally have
them...
terribly old-fashioned popular culture references, but this is someone who's still on the telly, and he's quite, he's younger than me. Go on.
Some of the other references that you'd put forward, I was like, no one's going to get them ever.
Yeah, I couldn't use Frankie Howard anyway because he spells his name differently. Anyway, I think we are there. We've got the important bit, which is Howard Becker. It's Russell Howard Becker. It's Russell Howard, the comedian. Howard Becker. Russell Howard Becker. Okay. Okay, here we go with the last one of these. And it has been talked about today already, which may help. Goffman's concept. Oh, there shouldn't be an apostrophe there. Oh, sorry, I hate that. That's me. I can blame only myself. But humans, no apostrophe, play a part like actors. That'll have been the auto text.
I've got no excuse for my posy one. Posy modernist.
Well, I have no excuse for my misplaced apostrophe, but it's really big.
PhD.
Loads of people have got
part of it.
Loads of people have got really what it is, and are trying desperately to link it to a dragon. But that isn't really...
Dragonturgical.
Yeah, it's had a really good go there. It isn't actually a dragon, because dragons only have one heads. Oh, and Elle's got the other bit. So I can see why you might think it was impression management. But if you get that the other people are right... Oh, and St. Bread's so close. Just add a little bit more. You're there. I was going to use a thing from Marvel films for this, in case people didn't recognise a Hydra from that picture, but you did well. Hydra's the baddies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as well, aren't they? I think, but I thought this might be easier. It's a hydromaturgical approach. Hydra and dramaturgical approach becomes the hydromaturgical approach. You got very close, and you got the important bit, which was knowing that was the.
And these guys said they didn't know anything about action theories. I think it was just a bit of a. It was a bit
cold start, wasn't it?
The cold start, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Actually, everyone did really well, didn't they? Knew their stuff.
They did
properly well. Okay. Yeah. So well
what
done.
Are we doing, Duncan? What are we doing over the next couple of weeks? Tell me more.
That's a really good question. So we're going to be doing this every Wednesday for the next few weeks until we sort of go off on the Grade Booster tour. If you're not coming to see us at a Grade Booster, why not? Do come. It would be lovely to see you. We're all over in the next in end of March and April. But until then, we're going to be doing a few more of these. You can also ask the odd question. Yeah, if you want us, put in the chat window, or once we've gone off, put in the main comments what topics you'd like us to cover over the next few weeks. Is a Grade Booster like this in real life? A bit. A bit, but in a cinema, and there's there might be
for 5 hours
there, but it's not just it's all day, so it's not there's a bit more to it. You're waiting for the next live stream. Brilliant, that's great. So what should we do next week, guys? We did structure action this time. Should we do conflict consensus next time, or is that a bit too much the same? We had a request for media and communication on the welfare state. Well, possibly.
Very focused there.
It's very focused. Globalization links to all topics. Oh yeah, we could do something. We could pick a synoptic thing. Globalization might be a nice synoptic thing to pick. There you go. We'll do globalization next time. Now, Hannah said global development. We won't be doing specifically globalization from global development, although I'm sure it will help with your global development revision. But obviously, that's we'll do globalization runs through everything, so it'll be like how globalization might affect education, how globalization might affect crime, and possibly some of the optional topics as well.
Yeah. I like that. It's a good one. Yeah. That's a good one. I think that's better.
That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing next week. I don't know what we said we were going to do, but we're doing globalization.
I'm writing it down. I'm writing it down now, so remember. Globalization.
Okay. All right.
Well, have a nice evening, guys.
Yeah, you too. And thanks very much for joining us, everybody, and your excellent answers. And thanks, Craig. Thanks, Katie. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.
See you next week. Take care. Bye.